Hey everybody, what is up? How are you doing? Thank you so much for being here with me today again. This is a Better Way with Kirsten Kimura podcast, and I really appreciate that you are watching this on YouTube or listening to it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. So glad that you found this podcast, and if you have been here for a while, I appreciate you coming along with me on this new journey, this slightly different direction that I've been taking lately with these podcasts and my work overall. So I'm so happy that you're here and listening. And if you ever have any comments, anything you want to share, I totally want to get your feedback. So don't ever think that I'm not going to message her or just getting too many messages or I don't want to bother her. Please don't think that, because I really look forward to your feedback, especially now that I mentioned, I am on this a bit like newer journey, so to speak, and covering a lot of different new topics. So it would be super helpful for me to know what else do you need and if these things are resonating with you and speaking to you. So today we're going to talk about negativity and pattern interruption. So if you are dealing with a lot of negativity, then there's a higher chance that you may have more chronic symptoms and sensations in your body. You will very likely also have more anxiety and depression symptoms. And overall, you just don't feel great if you're negative. And this is not a podcast about, it's all like love and light all the time and gratitude every step on the way. Yes, I think this is great, but also I think it's a little bit unrealistic to live this way. But overall, I definitely want you to start shifting your mindset more towards positivity. Negativity can like sneak into your thoughts so that you don't even know. So some of us, including myself, have definitely stronger kind of bias towards negativity. It is like this is how our brains are wired. A lot of times people who tend to be a little bit more negative have more past traumas and they have left their mark. Now, also, just for a while, I gotta say, I had a really strong response to this word trauma, because I just didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to like, well, everything is trauma, because people can go there, start talking about trauma excessively. So I don't want to go there, because I think that's also going to bring up more negativity, more feeling like I am broken. I don't know what I have to do with myself. I'm so messed up. I thought I had, well, this is how I was thinking for a while when I heard this word trauma everywhere. So I definitely don't want to overuse it. But it is good to be aware that if you have had more trauma in your childhood or growing up, then, or even now, then there is a higher chance that your brain is just more biased towards negativity. It goes to work to find more negative things, and this kind of becomes your default setting. And you may not even know that there's something off about it, that this is not good for you. And we have to start paying attention, close attention to our thoughts, what we say, what we think, and then switch things around, find better things to think about, find ways to reframe our negative thoughts as well. So I want to talk about pattern interruption, and I want to start with a funny story. So some time ago, I was getting into this pretty negative thought loop myself, and I've gotten pretty good at like recognizing it and realizing, okay, it's time to do something about this, because I know that if I don't, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. If I don't express my emotions related to whatever things I'm thinking about, then it's just gonna get worse, and I just feel worse and worse. And last episode I talked about emotions a lot, so please, I really ask you to go and listen to it, because emotions play a bigger role in our health than most of us realize. Most people think that, oh, emotions, whatever, right? Like it's like, well, I have to talk about my feelings now. That's kind of weird. But you may not realize how much they really impact your health. And like I mentioned last time too, for me to get better from my chronic symptoms, mostly back pain, really diving into my emotional health, learning to acknowledge, recognize, and then process my emotions has been one of the key solutions really here that has made me a lot better. Sometimes it gets funny how much more I feel now. Funny in a way that like it's still kind of new in a sense, right? It's like, wow, I'm actually getting angry, and wow, I'm actually getting sad. But these are really, really good things. They have to come out of you. So I want to come back to pattern interruption and the story that I wanted to tell you. So there was this day when I was kind of getting stuck in this negative thought loop, and I was getting to the point where I was like, okay, let's go outside. Let's sit down on the grass for a little bit. It's nice and sunny out. It's just let's take a break. And I asked my husband to come outside with me, and he said, sure, let's take a break. So we went outside. We sit down in the grass, and I start telling him, hey, what do you do like if you really start going down this negative thought pattern, like, oh, things are not working out the way I want, or I should have done this better. The inner critic comes out and starts, telling you all its opinions, which are just not very good positive talk, right? And so I'm telling that to my husband, and I'm like, what do you do in this situation? And then he says, pattern interruption. And the second he said these words, the sprinklers went off, right? Just like super suddenly. And I got like the water all over me, right? I was sitting on the grass and sprinkles went off, and it was like all over me. Like my clothes, my hair, everything was wet. And it was so funny because it came right in the moment when he said these two words, pattern interruption. And for sure, I no longer had the moment to think about my negativity and my thoughts and how wrong things are and how, I haven't done good enough a job or whatever. And I think this was such a good metaphor, like exactly what he was saying. You gotta interrupt your pattern when you get into this negativity loop. So towards the end of today's episode, I'm going to give you a couple of phrases that are really powerful if you need to interrupt that pattern and shift your mindset from very negative to more positive. But before we talk about these couple of phrases, these words, I also want to kind of tell you a little bit more about some other, people like authors, writers who have talked about this. So one of the people who has talked about it is Joseph Murphy. So he wrote his books, I believe, in the 1960s, and he talks a lot about the power of the mind, and it's very much like law of attraction minded work, although I don't think he even uses these words, law of attraction. Maybe in other books he does, but in this one book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, I don't think he mentions law of attraction specifically, but everything he says is exactly that. So basically he is saying that what you are thinking about, what you're focusing on, what emotions you're feeling, this will just create more of the same things, right? So if you're able to be more positive, you're gonna have more light and ease and positive things in your life. If you're more negative, this is also what you're gonna get. You're gonna get more of the same stuff. And so he has this sentence, his quote, never finish a negative sentence, right? Never finish a negative sentence, shift it around, turn it around, and turn it into a positive sentence instead. And I was journaling the other day, and something negative came to mind. I started to kind of talk about it and write it out, and then I just remembered this quote suddenly, and it said, never finish a negative sentence. And I literally left that sentence that I was about to start a little bit of complaining. I just left it like that, and I just immediately turned it around, and I started to look at it from a positive perspective. Okay, this situation that I was going to talk about right now in my journal, write about it and pointing out the negatives. What are the things that I can find here? Like, is there like a silver lining, or is there something like that I could learn? Is there an opportunity to grow from this situation? And of course there was. It's just a matter of can you turn this around? Can you shift your perspective? And I think, in the past, before I was familiar with any of this work, I was thinking, who am I fooling here? Like, why would I turn this into positive? This is just that I'm lying to myself. I'm just fooling myself. Like, why would I say things are so well? This is just so dumb to say that. If they're clearly, here's the facts, things are absolutely awful. So this is the reality. Let's talk about that. But I didn't realize that it is true that what you put your focus on, you get more of that. Like your whole life is a reflection actually of your thoughts, and also your body. If you have chronic symptoms in the body, these are also actually reflections of what happens in your nervous system and in your mind. So you have to realize that. So turn the story around. No, don't finish the negative sentence. See what you can find. Like, can you see anything positive? And the positive, of course, has to be true thing. You're not gonna lie or make up some random stuff. But when you look at a problem that you have, so instead of like going on and on and on about that problem, writing about all the details or telling somebody like all the details, instead of that, see what can I do to change it? How can I move it more towards positive? And I absolutely don't want you to ignore your emotions. So, like I said in my last episode, I talked about emotions a lot. Recognize your emotion. What is this that I'm feeling? Maybe I am feeling really angry about this thing that happened. Cool. I like it. Say it. Say it out loud. Feel the emotions. Maybe you can find it where it is in your body and tune into this situation and this sensation and let it be there. This is how you process your anger. Or if it makes you really sad, same thing. Maybe it makes you cry. Go ahead and cry, right? So definitely feel your emotions, but don't go on and on in this story mode where you're discussing all the details of the negative event that happened, and it only actually digs you deeper and deeper and deeper into this negativity hole. So I mentioned Joseph Murphy. Also, if you're familiar with Abraham Hicks, so they definitely talk about law of attraction purely. So this is their thing. They also say the best way to know what's next for you is to tell how you're feeling at the moment, right? So if you're feeling super negative and if you're feeding this negativity with more crap, with more negative things, there's a good chance that you're going to get more and more and more crap. Now turn this around. If you are choosing, okay, I want to kind of emphasize that word, if you're choosing to look at the positive side of things, you notice your mood is getting lighter, you're more hopeful, right? And you're going to get more positivity in your life. So it does work like this. And I think the mind power is really amazing. If somebody thinks that our thoughts don't impact our health or our finances or our work or our relationships, then they're not correct, because these things absolutely impact it. And I think everything starts actually from the mind. So how we choose to see things and what we choose to focus on. So in regards of health outcomes, there's several studies that have shown that people who are more optimistic have definitely better health outcomes, better cardiovascular health, and better longevity. Definitely true. Those who are more negative, pessimistic, don't have as good health outcomes. So this is definitely something to keep in mind as well. So the other thing that I would like you to think about is, what kind of person would you like to be, right? So what do people feel like when they are around you or when they talk to you? So you can also think about like maybe some of your friends or close people that you're talking to. Do you have somebody in your life who every time when you talk to her or him, you feel like so weighed down, heavy? You're like, ugh, right? I just, there's all this complaining, there's all this whining, there's like all this negativity. And think, do I want to be a person like this? And I've done this exercise myself. I've thought about the people and I'm like, okay, I really want to be like she is. Every time I talk to her, I feel like positive and kind of uplifted and hopeful, right? It makes me feel really good. For example, I have one of my fat loss clients, and I usually talk to her Monday mornings. And I swear, like, this is the best start for my week because this person is so positive. She's always happy. It's like, oh my God, this was a good week. I did well. Okay, this thing didn't work out so well, but this was so great. So I feel like my week was really great. I'm happy with myself. I'm proud of myself. Like, this is her self-talk. And it's so uplifting for me too, to hear that she's doing great. She's appreciating her effort. She's seeing the results. She's in this really positive mindset. And I've told her several times, like every Monday morning after I talk to you, I feel really great. I honestly do. So it's so great to be like this kind of person, right? Other people around you feel great. And again, I want to make sure that you don't have to be like a chameleon. Like you don't have to like do things according to other people, right? Oh, they wanted this, I'm gonna do it like this. You don't have to hide your emotions, or you don't have to. I mean, of course, definitely don't do any people-pleasing behaviors because you want other people to like you. This is a different story. So if you're people-pleasing all the time, you are doing this out of fear and out of shame, right? You're afraid, oh my God, they're not going to like me. They might reject me. They might abandon me. So this is very fear-based. Or there might be a lot of shame, like, oh my God, in the past, somebody said this negative thing about me. Now I want to make sure that nobody ever gets to say anything negative about me, so I'm going to people please. I'm going to do what they want, right? I'm going to like put everybody else first, and leave my needs at the bottom of the list, right? So I don't want you to do this, right? So this is people pleasing. This is not okay. It's not a good habit at all. But positivity, when you're actually able to look at things through a positive lens, and with this positivity, actually, you are kind of like radiating this positivity, and it has a really nice effect on other people around you as well. So definitely don't stuff down your negative emotions. Did a whole long podcast on it, and I do have an upcoming course on emotions specifically. I am honestly really pumped about this one because I know how big of an impact recognizing and working with your emotions can have. Emotions are feelings in your body, especially if you tend to have anxiety, depression, and chronic symptoms in the body. You have to work with your emotions. This can literally be this one thing that you haven't done yet, and it can get you a lot better. So definitely work on your emotions, but also notice the positive things, right? Focus on the positive more than you focus on the negative. So some things to look out for. If you always say things like, this will never work. Let's say that you're listening to my like super excited way of talking about emotions, like, yes, this is so great. You might be thinking, this will never work. Like, emotions, what? Nobody's ever told me that. How could that work? I mean, emotions are in my head. This problem is in my back. What's the connection there? So you say, this will never work, right? But why are you so negative about this? Why don't you give it a try? Why don't you see what it's like, right? The other thing that a lot of people say, oh, it must be so nice for you. Maybe somebody said it to you too. Oh, it must be so nice for you to have this and that, or have that freedom, or have that job, or have that money, or have that family, or whatever, right? Must be so nice. This is a very negative thing to say, right? There's a lot of jealousy in there. So if you tend to say that, and this is also, by the way, what Joseph Murphy is talking about, this book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, it's like, if you are so negative, if you're jealous, if you're envious, you are attracting more of that stuff into your life, and you're not going to feel good. Like, if you say, oh, it must be so nice for you to have this job, then, good luck hoping that you're going to get something as good, because it's probably not going to happen. The other thing that is very negative that people often say is like, I could never do this. Oh, you can. You can. I'm sure. It's so great, so easy for you. I could never. Well, how do you know until you've given it a try? So I've talked about my strength training programs, obviously. Train to Build Starter, which is a beginner level program, and Train to Build Intermediate, which is for intermediate weightlifters. And when I launched the Train to Build Starter, sometimes people would tell me, oh, I could never do this. But I can't do this. Like, I cannot do 5 squats, and my chronic symptoms will absolutely come back. So if you start with this expectation already, probably what you're going to get is that very thing that you're afraid of symptoms coming back. Yeah, you're going to get that. So you have to shift your mindset here too. I could never do this. Why don't you say, yes, I can. I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to give it a try. Yes, I can, because I choose the positive, right? Another thing that people could say, oh, you don't get it. I'm different. I'm different. Things don't work for me. So again, how do you know? Why do you think that you are so different? Have you tried? Right? The same thing that somebody else is doing and working for them. Why do you say that? I'm so different. You don't get it. Also, the same thing. Actually, when I come back for a moment, I could never do this. Somebody told me a while ago, when I was still working through my chronic symptoms, she said, oh, it's going to be so much easier for you because you're athletic type. Like, I could never do this. I could never lift a weight, or I could never make myself exercise, but you can. It's so easy for you. So this is again the same thing. Like, why do you think that you cannot do this? Maybe you cannot do this on the same level. Okay, yeah, it's going to take some time to work your way up there, but you can, right? You can do all the things, right? Anything you want, you can do it. So this is it, right? If you say these things out loud, this will never work. Must be nice for you. I could never do this. You don't get me. I'm different. This is a crap ton of negative self-talk, and you have to catch this. You have to start being very intentional with what you're letting come out of your mouth, right? And even if you don't say these things out loud, sometimes you're just thinking these negative thoughts. And this is something that can be so ingrained in you that you don't notice it. And this is definitely me. I was never like a big complainer, like out loud about like how terrible things are or like this will never work. It wasn't actually very much like that. It was like more in my mind, very negative, like the same things that I just said here, but in my mind, so silently. And it took a while to start noticing them. And then they're actually, at the beginning, there's a little bit of force to turn it around because this is not your natural tendency for many of you to be more positive. Your natural tendency might be negativity, just like it was mine. And, don't get me wrong, I still fall into these traps sometimes, like I just said, the sprinkler example, the pattern interruption that I mentioned before. I still go there sometimes, but definitely not nearly as much as I used to. Like I would literally have before like weeks when I couldn't get out of the negative thinking mode. And it was really hard. Like no wonder I was hurting so bad, like physically too. So switch your mindset, catch your negative thoughts, right? Ants, automatic negative thoughts. Ants, catch those and turn them around, even if it feels silly, even if it feels like, oh, I'm just like full of crap, I'm lying to myself. Even if it feels this way, there's going to be a little bit of push, a little bit of force, because you have to realize like your brain has very set patterns in it. It wants to walk these paths, right? If you have taught it a bunch of negativity, of course it wants to go there because that's easy. And now compare it to a path that is not that clear. It's like all the grass and stuff is like high, but you have to find a path and start walking that path so that you can create a new path in your brain. This is how it works with positive thinking. Okay, so how do you then interrupt, right? We talked about pattern interruption. How do you do it? And I want to offer two phrases here that are really helpful, and you have to say them to yourself in a very kind of strong conviction, right? And the phrases are stop now and start now. It's so simple, but you have to remember to use them, okay? So whatever you're doing that's not a good or positive, put a hard stop on it by saying stop now. Whatever you know that it would help you to get out of that negative mode towards more positive, say start now, right? So let's say that you want to go down like the whole worry cycle about how bad your symptoms are and you want to like complain about it to somebody. And when you notice that you're starting to do this, you're going to literally say stop now, okay? This is like a hard stop. This is like Joseph Murphy's don't finish the negative sentence, right? Stop now. And then say start now, ... What is it for you that you're going to start now? So you're going to stop now the negative, the bitching, the complaining, and start now the positive, like go to positives. Think, for example, oh, yesterday my symptoms were way down. Cool. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's positive, it's happening, it's possible. It just takes a little bit more time and practice. And by the way, if you get stuck in a negativity, your symptoms are not going to get better. So you have to practice the positive, right? So if you get negative about it, like you're not making things move along faster. So I'm going to stop that negative story that I was just about to tell myself or somebody else, and I'm going to start focusing on the positive. So one example was, oh, yesterday my symptoms were way down. Well, maybe yesterday they weren't, but 2 weeks ago they were way down, or some time ago they were way down. You had evidence that you can get out of this, right? Or maybe you have something fun to look forward to that would lift your mood a little bit. So yeah, okay, you have some chronic sensations right now, but could you think, oh, I have this weekend coming up and my friends are coming over and it's going to be so much fun. Or we're going to go have a picnic and it's going to be so awesome. Or, if you don't, for some reason, can't leave your house, or sometimes, maybe your sensations are really bad, then still, oh, let's do like a Saturday night, like a movie night. It's going to be so fun. Let's do it, right? So start now. Start that positive thinking now. Stop the bad bullshit that's not serving you and start the positivity now. So I hope this episode today helped you. So it's really so important that you start shifting out of your negative thinking and turn more towards positivity and lifting yourself up, right? Pick yourself up, lift yourself up, just feed your brain with more positivity, because this is really how the change starts to happen. And this is not only for like chronic symptoms in the body, this is also for like depression and anxiety. And I know that it can be extremely difficult, extremely difficult. I have had depression. I know what it's like. And it can be like everything is bad. But then you're catastrophizing because not everything is bad. Maybe you're laying down in your bed and you have your bed and you have your husband and you have your cat and you have food and you have whatever things are that bring you some joy and like gratitude. This is where you want to shift. Even if it's a small thing. Like Abraham Hicks has talked about, how they like wake up in the morning and they just start like looking at their pillow, and the pillow is nice and so soft, and look at this pattern on it, and it's so sweet, right? Like you can literally find small little beautiful things, even if everything else seems dark. You can find something, and from there it's a little bit easier to take the next step and the next step. But you have to start from somewhere, and this is when you're going to use the stop now and start now method. So definitely do that. So this was today's episode. If you are interested in strength training programs, I still have it. They will always be available. Train to Build Starter and Train to Build Intermediate. They are very friendly. If you for those who are highly sensitive, or for those who have experienced chronic symptoms or still experiencing it, the starter program is perfect for you. And if you're interested, then definitely check out the links in the show notes, read more about them, and sign up if you are interested. All right, this is all I have for you today. Thank you again so much. I really appreciate you being here, and I'll talk to you again very soon. Take care.